Welcome to Allies Are Enemies. I'm Jess.
And I am Sean, and today we are talking about Essen. So I just got back from 4 days at Germany, at the whole world's largest board gaming convention, and I'm going to be breaking down some of those best games from each day.
And unfortunately, I was unable to go, so we were really hoping my visa would come through on time. It did not, so Sean had to go by himself.
So I guess I'm going to be talking about the games, but Jess is also interested in the games, so we're still going to have a little bit of a chit chat. We're also going to talk about some of the games that we're going to be covering that are coming up that we picked up or that I picked up in Essen. I'm just using the royal we there. We also have some news that we are going to be moving back down to London. And so hopefully there's not too much of a blip in the channel, but if you don't see us for just a smidge of time, it's just because we're packing and unpacking, town to town, traveling down that dial.
So some quick stats to start off about the Spiel. This was, I think, the largest one. There were 204,000 visitors across the 4 days, which were all sold out. And there was the most amount of hall space used, with 923 exhibitors and people from 80 different nations who came to the Spiel.
And I think I looked at almost all of that hall space. I really tried to get to every corner of that hall. But let's break down some of the memorable moments that I had playing different games throughout the Spiel. So we're going to start on Thursday. Some of the top games from Thursday. This was one of my big surprises from the Spiel, and that was Superclub Rivals. And this was absolutely not on my radar, but I'm always kind of looking for sports games because I love sports. Even though football is not really something that I follow, Superclub Rivals is this football manager game, and you're like one-on-one. It's this really clever card placement game. The mechanics really tie to the theme in interesting ways. I really liked it. It reminded me of a hockey manager game that I used to play all the time, where you don't play any hockey, you just like change your lines. And I know that maybe sounds boring to people who don't love sports, but if you love hockey, it's fascinating. And this had a little bit of that same feel.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because you don't watch a lot of football and it still appealed to you. Whereas like for me, I also am not too familiar with it. So we'll see how I feel about it. But I remember as soon as you played it, you were really excited about it.
Another one that Jess really wanted me to play because she wanted to hear about was Spectacular. And so we generally enjoy the games from Chili Fox and Aporta games. And Spectacular is from the Chili Fox side of it, I believe. And this is a tile and dice placement game. So you're building a little like conservation zoo-ish thing, and you're putting in animals, and then you're putting dice on top of those animals. It's a fairly, it's kind of a simple puzzle, but they did say that there were other levels to it as well that you add in that make it quite a bit more complex. I would definitely be interested in playing it again with those other levels.
Yeah, this is one I want to try.
And then another one is Ironwood. This is one that we are going to be reviewing as well. And Ironwood it's very cool. So this is from Mind Clash Games. If you've watched our top 100 recently, you'll know that I love basically everything that Mind Clash puts out. And Ironwood is a head-to-head game where you're two different asymmetric factions. One is the trees, and they kind of feel like they're the good guys. They're doing tree things. They're trying to take these things back to the outside of the kingdom. And then there's the iron side, and they're trying to build cities. And they're moving this giant, Snowpiercer looking train around it that look very ominous. And it's a really cool game.
Which one were you?
I was the trees, and I won. I was told that the other ones were a little bit harder to play on the first play, and the person I was playing against did great as well. I just did a little better. Another one was, this was my game of the entire Spiel. And this is Bus and Stop. It's the new Sochi game. And oh my goodness, it is so charming. And this is another one, not on my radar. I was just walking by, there was a table empty, so I sat down and played with some folks. And the art is it's wonderful. It's just so adorable. It's got this awesome 50s vibe to it. And you got a bunch of passengers waiting for a bus. You got to pick them up and put them on your bus. You can only have 10 passengers. And you pick up all the ones of one color. Then you drop off all the ones of one symbol. And when you drop them off, you want to collect more to drop them off. But because you got to pick up all of one color, they kind of fill your bus in weird ways. And the best part of this is when people drop off one of the types of people, if you have one card of that type, or any amount, but you can get rid of one, you have to yell skedaddle. And I love it. And I asked, like, is there a translation in other languages? And she's like, no, it's the one word that's just the same across all of them. You always have to yell skedaddle. So fun.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but Sean told me he played it a ton over the weekend.
It was with me all the time. I played it, I think, every single night. I taught someone else this game and played it with them. I played it with some people at the airport, like made some friends at the airport, played it at the airport as well. So good. One that I didn't get to play, but I did get a look at was Western Legends Stories. And we just got into Western Legends. We just finally bought Western Legends. I love cowboy stuff, and it was great because it also made you interested enough to go back and watch a few of the old cowboy movies.
Yeah, Tombstone was great, and now I only want to be Doc Holliday.
Yeah, Tombstone, one of the greatest movies of all time, and it looks really cool. We got immediately into Western Legends, even though it's not great at 2, but I was told that Stories is going to be a much, much better 2-player experience, so I really want to play that. And that brings us to Friday. So a few of the ones I want to talk about here is, first of all, there's going to be a remake of Trismegistus, which I have finally learned how to pronounce, and I have wanted to play for a long time, but I was always told it was a really good game, but didn't have a great rule book, and some of the iconography was kind of got in its own way. So Board and Dice are revisiting that. They're fixing the rulebook, they're fixing the iconography, they're just making it a little smoother, but still basically the same game. I think just with a few tiny tweaks, so very keen to play that.
Is that coming out next year?
That is, I believe, coming out next year. Another one that I played was Flowers, and this is one that I think is really going to speak to people who like patchwork but want just like a little bit more from that. So it's got a kind of patchworky, well, it's got exactly a patchworky drafting system, but now you're paying with bees instead of buttons. And then you're taking those tiles and you're putting them down on your board in a very kind of King Domino-ish way. So you're trying to make sections of matching colors, and then you're putting bees on to score those sections. It's a pretty simple game, but I thought it was kind of a nice kind of evolution of patchwork. The next one up was, this is like this beautiful kaleidoscope of color on its box, and that's what really drew me in, and that is Refuge from Bombix. And in Refuge, it's a bag building tile placement-ish game where you are putting out these tiles to have like a nice walk. And you're just trying to see some animals on your walk. But as you walk, there's more and more like lightning and like rain clouds coming, and it's gonna rain. And as those lightnings come out, it gets like more and more dangerous. But you can decide to keep on going on your walk. But if it gets all the way to lightning, then all the animals run away and you can't see any of them. So you gotta go home before the rain starts, or else both you can't see any animals and you lose all your boots because it gets muddy, and you gotta pay your boots to get over the mud. It is so cute. And it was so much fun, and it's like a tricky push your luck game, because as more people stay out, it's more dangerous, but as other people go home and you're one of the couple people out, it gets a little bit safer, and you like don't worry as much about the lightning. I love it.
Did you make it home okay?
I almost never. I always, you know how I play these sorts of games, and someone else was pushing with me, so it got very contentious, very head-to-head with like who was going to chicken out. Moving on to Saturday, that day started off with Resafa. And Resafa is the new Vladimir Suchi game, and this one I liked it a little bit more than the last couple. It's this game that, well, like a lot of his games, it's a whole bunch of different interconnecting bits to it where you're moving around a desert, you're trading things with this camel, you've got water that's coming down, you're building your own little, I don't know, town or whatever it is. And as you might be able to tell from that description right there, the theme didn't really connect to the mechanics for me, but the mechanics were really interesting. So I would definitely play this one again. And then the next one is Tatsumi, and Tatsumi is from Adam's Apple Games, who put out Planet Unknown, which is a favorite of ours. But this one is a lot more of an abstract puzzle. So you've got like these dragons on rings, you move them around, and what we were playing was an earlier prototype, so it's going to change quite a bit. But you move them around this like middle shared board, picking up these rings, then you put rings down on this other board, and you score based on how the rings connect, and then you also spend these scales for different scoring things. This is not a good explanation, but it was a really interesting abstract game, and we all liked it a lot more than I think we expected to.
Were the dragons like minis?
Yeah, yes, these little mini dragons that stand inside the rings and then move around the rings. It's really cool. And then this is one of the other real hits of the fair for me was Tower Up. And Tower Up reminded me a little bit of Big Boss just in how it looks. You've got these awesome little plastic buildings and you're building a city kind of together, but definitely also not together because it's very competitive. But it's another abstract game. And you're building up this city by putting a chunk of city in one square and then a chunk of city in an adjacent square. So you know, if anyone's ever worked in construction, you can't build exactly the thing that you're building. You got to build next to it and then sneak up on it and then quickly build it. And that's kind of what this does. So you're building your tower with two adjacent parts, then you're putting a little roof on one of those parts and you're scoring it. You're also moving up these little bulldozers as well, but it looks really, really pretty. Super simple rules, but it still is like, it's got a lot of interesting strategy to it. And we really, like everyone at the table really enjoyed this one.
Is it different player colors for the colors of the buildings, or the buildings are different colors?
The roofs are different player colors, and then the buildings also have 4 different colors. The buildings are they're just like gray, white, brown, black. And then the player colors are fun and interesting. And the roofs are all different as well. And they had a giant one too. And that one looked really cool, but I don't think you can buy it. And then one that I got a sneak peek at was Meadow Adventure Book. And I actually had a chance to walk around with the designer a bit, and he walked me through all of it, showed me all of the chunks of this book, and it looks very, very cool. So we love Meadow. And this it doesn't use the downstream expansion, so it just uses the base game of Meadow, and then it's got this book, and each page of the book has like these different challenges. And they're these cool things, like there's this windmill that, actually it's this really cool magnet that bounces between 2 windmills, and you can change the like blades on the windmill, and that changes the game in different ways. And there's all different things like that that are they change how you draft or what you're trying to draft, or like what are the end game goals. And I know we're gonna like it because we already love Meadow.
When does it come out? Next year? Or?
I believe, yeah, that is a next year one as well. What I saw, I think was like a very late stage prototype, or maybe even the final version. And then also was Rivages. And Rivages is like if Silver and Gold and Trails of Tucana had a baby. And those are 2 games that we love. And I really like this. So Rivages it's a flip and write game, but it also is like drafting. So you flip these cards and then you do 1 row, like the top row of one of these 2 cards. And then you pass it to the next player, then they can do the row, but you cross out whatever row you do. And sometimes you really want something, but the row right underneath is really good. So you don't really want to give it to them. And what you're doing with that is you're crossing out things on your island. You're crossing out connected things, and there's all these fun little bonuses that give you little combo things and move you up these different tracks. I really liked it. I really fun play with this person. I didn't know him at all, but when we were playing, we were both playing at like super speed, and we were both kind of like trying to go faster than the other person, and it was like ultimate crazy like Bobby Fischer speed chess that we were playing this game at. It was just a really fun experience.
Yeah, I really want to try this.
Yeah, it's a great one. We've got it, and so I'm very excited to play that one more. And then Sunday was a much shorter day because I had to go catch a flight, but I still squeezed in a few games in the morning. And one of the biggest games for me, another one of the big games for me, was Galileo Galilei. And this one really blew me away. This is one that's from Thomas Hollick, and he kind of exploded out of nowhere. So he had Tea Garden, Galileo, and SETI all come out this year, a bit like Danny Garcia was last year, just all these games all at once. And Galileo, it's really great. You can really feel the theme and the mechanics, and you're trying to explore space, but you got the Spanish Inquisition who don't want you to explore space at all. But the interesting thing is with the Spanish Inquisition that you often get them, right? And they're trying to, they're not very nice. So they're trying to inquisition you or whatever it is that they do. But as you can kind of win them over and make them friends as you move them up this track. And so you're kind of like teaching them convincing them of science and like, look, there are stars above us. You can't make us not see those. And I really, everyone at the table liked this game. It's terrific. I think everyone bought a copy when we finished playing, so that tells you something. I also squeezed in a game of Caracas, which was not on my radar at all, but it had this drafting mechanism that reminded me a little bit of Botanic. where Botanics just has a really clever drafting mechanism where you're putting a tile in the middle and that releases stuff. But here, it's the column that you put the tile in decides what you can draft the next time. And I love these drafting mechanisms that are like what you play is also what you get, that it's tied together. It was really, really interesting, mechanically very cool. Another one I want to mention that I forgot about was Revenant. And this is one that I got a sneak peek at from Mind Clash, and it's really cool. This is a sequel to, well, kind of a sequel. It's within the same world as Voidfall. I actually missed the time I was supposed to be playing this because I mixed up my time zones, but Mind Clash were wonderful, and one of their demoers stayed a little bit later to show me this game, and it's a lot. It was a lot for a demo. It was a lot to take in, but it's pretty cool. You've got these different ships, and the ships are your different actions that you can do, and you've got a lot of stuff that you would expect from Voidfall, but it's on this big board, and you're fighting the bad guys like all over different places, and it's kind of co-op, but it's not co-op. I'm not describing this well because there's so much that is happening in this game.
Is it just as heavy as Voidfall, do you think?
No, this is going to be quite a bit lighter than Voidfall, which is insane. I think Voidfall is about as close to a 5 as you get on BGG. This is, when I say quite a bit lighter, this is going to be like in the high 3s. This is still a fairly heavy game, but yeah, certainly not as heavy as Voidfall, which is like not like brain exploding. This is just brain burning. So that was a whole bunch of games, but we also want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at a few of the games that we're going to be reviewing soon as well. And so one of those, this is a real heavy boy. This is SETI, and we already talked about Thomas Hollick. And this is, I think this has got to be his physically heaviest game. This was half of my carry-on right here. We've been talking about this before UKGE. We've been so excited about it. That excitement has not abated at all. I can't wait to actually open up this box and play this game.
Also, Refuge, which you were talking about, and
so pretty
and colorful. So really looking forward to playing this.
And then Glow, and I know it's written in French, but we're being trusted as Canadians to get through that anyway. That trust is misplaced in me. Hopefully Jess can muddle me through, but it's language independent on the actual game itself, and the game is beautiful. So really excited to play this.
Also, Rolling Realms redo. So we have the original, we've played it a ton, and this is a whole bunch of new realms.
Then we've got another big boy, is Endeavor Deep Sea. And this is submarining. We had a submarine that when I was gone, and I missed the whole submarine excitement. So this is gonna give me a little bit of what I missed out on. So I'm excited for that.
And Terminus, and so this is about building a subway network and trying to connect it, and it's all kinds of like interesting actions as you go around a rondel.
And this is from Inside Up, and it's like the heaviest game Inside Up have put out yet, and we actually did get a chance to play that one. I really like it. And then Ironwood, and I talked about this. This is from Mind Clash. This is a head-to-head game, as you can see here. And I really want to play with the other guys too. They kind of are the bad guys. They kind of feel like the Empire, but you know, maybe they're just misunderstood.
On top of all of those games, Sean also bought some games.
I was allowed.
Which we may or may not review. So if you are interested in reviews of these, please do let us know. So it includes Tree Society, and I really like the designers, and the cover looks lovely.
And I actually met Matthew Dunstan, and he's terrific. So I really want to play this. And then there's Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, which I'm pretty positive we're going to be reviewing. And this is the follow-up to Seven Wonders Duel, but with Lord of the Rings. I didn't need to explain that. That's all in the title.
Also, Bus and Stop, Sean's most played game of the convention. I'm really excited to try it.
Game of Spiel. Solstice, which we have been playing a ton on BGA, and Jess was like, you better pick this one up. And
yeah.
So I did.
And Superclub, and this is one you played that you like so much that you got right away.
I picked it up as soon as I finished playing it. Then there's Gaia Project, the new expansion for Gaia Project, which Gaia Project, one of my all-time favorite games.
And Rivages, and this was the one you said was Trails of Tucana and Silver and Gold, a kind of mix, so I'm already sold.
Galileo Galilei, which I don't even know, you already know what my review of this is, but it would be good to see a little bit more of that and to talk more about this one too.
Also, Flatiron, and so this was on our list of Essen anticipated games, and this was very popular. You got one of the final few copies left.
Yeah, I love the Flatiron building. This is from the same designers who made White Castle, which was almost everybody's game of the year last year. So this, it's like a no-brainer for me. And that's basically it. There was a whole bunch of other games that I played as well. There's so much there. There's something like 1,500 games released at Essen. There's no possible way anyone can play all of those, but I would love to hear from folks who maybe were there, who played something that I didn't get a chance to play or didn't get a chance to see, or the games that you wish that I played. What are some of those games at Essen that you're really interested in? Please let us know in the comments.
Yes, and I hopefully can be there next year. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, please like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next time for another game.